All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So we're doing a kitchen floor vlog. I want to talk about Greece in this video. Everybody keeps asking me, where are the rest of the Greek vlogs? They're coming. Okay, we've got probably, I took a lot of footage, so I probably have at least another 4 or 5 separate vlogs, Holy Week, Easter, the Acropolis, Delphi. But in this video, I kind of just want to talk about my experience in Greece because there's a lot of things I could talk about. Maybe some of the pros, some of the cons, some things I really liked about it, some things that maybe I didn't like or that I was even shocked by. So that's what I want to cover in this video. Now, the trip was 100% a success, hands down. I mean, it was probably the best experience of my life. I mean, at least in the top 3. I mean, it was just incredible, because I got the spiritual experience, I got the historical experience, the Hellenistic experience, So to go to the place where, I mean, my grandfather's from Greece. Well, he's from the island of Kefalonia, which is, I wasn't able to go there on this trip, but on my next trip, hopefully I'll be able to visit my grandfather's island. But my godfather, Tim, he's from outside of Delphi, so I got to see that whole area. But I mean, just being able to go to like the historical place where, my genealogy kind of comes from. And the history too, right? Greece has a lot to be proud of. There are going to be some things I'll talk about in this video that are like shocking to me as an American. I think, America has definitely surpassed Greece in many ways, but Greece has a lot to be proud of. And, the Greeks are prideful for good reason, justifiably. So, they are the inheritors of what came before. So, being able to experience all of this and the religious aspect of it, because this was more of a pilgrimage, right? This wasn't a vacation necessarily. Yes, we went on a road trip the second week, but it was like a pilgrimage, right? I was paying homage to the homeland, paying homage to Holy Greece, right? The monasteries. I mean, I stayed at a monastery in a town called Keratea, which is south of Athens. That's where we stayed for Holy Week up until Pascha, or what Americans call Easter. And our Easter, our Pascha, is a week after the the Protestants and the Catholics and everybody else, right? Because all the Christians in the world, they go by the Julian calendar, the pagan calendar. When it comes to these holidays, the Orthodox Church goes by the original calendar that they had. So Easter has to fall. I shouldn't call it Easter because that's the pagan version of the holiday. But Pascha, it has to fall after the full moon and after Passover. It's very, very important. Whereas the Julian calendar, the Christians that follow that, they only go by after, they celebrate after Passover, but not necessarily after the full moon. So that's a very, very important distinction here. But Holy Week, to be able to spend time in a monastery and slow down, and it was hard for me at first, like to kind of forget about the world, forget about the markets, forget about my family, forget about everything I know in America, and go and stay at a monastery for like a week straight before we even ever left. Well, we went to the grocery store, which there were some shocking things there too, rabbits and goat heads, and I was like, oh my God. It was shocking because we don't see that kind of thing in America. But to stay at a monastery, I mean, it was difficult. It was very difficult. I at times wanted, like, a part of me wanted to just leave and go home. I don't know if I was homesick or I just felt like like I couldn't do it. I couldn't do 2 weeks on my own in Greece. But there were moments where there was a lot of guilt too. Being at the monastery and being around all of these extremely holy people. I mean, you're talking about bishops that have like transcended all of their earthly, natural instincts and desires, and they have like nothing but agape and godly love for mankind. To see that and to be around those kind of people and to be accepted into this community where I barely speak the language. A lot of them were able to communicate with me in English, especially the younger ones, but to be accepted into this community as an outsider, as an American, I felt like I didn't deserve to be there, because prior to this trip, I was extremely angry at God, for, all kinds of reasons that are not justified. But I was angry with God, going into this trip because, I don't know, I just felt like I had been abandoned, especially in the markets. You guys know how much the markets and the trading, how important this is to me in my life these days. And I felt kind of abandoned by God in January when I, took these huge losses. So when I was there, I started feeling guilt. I really started feeling guilt for cursing God or blaming God. And long story short, I kind of got through that. And by Holy Friday, Holy Saturday, I was really starting to feel like, like I was meant to be there, like it was, I really felt God's grace because I didn't deserve to be there necessarily. I have found fault with God, with the church, before this trip. So that being said, I really did feel God's grace because, through these people, through these bishops, through the monks, through the community there. Now the monastery is a monastery. There's 3 monks that live there, an archbishop, a bishop, and a deacon. Their titles would be like Yoranda, which is the archbishop, Despota, which I always want to say Despota, which just basically means like my lord or my bishop. And then Thiaco, which I guess translates into deacon. So those were the 3 guys that lived there. Now I went with Ted, my boss from the catering gig, right? That was my whole connection to this place, to Greece. Being able to go on this trip was because I had been working for him and I knew him through my church, Ted. So I didn't go alone, but there were other guys my age there. I met several different guys that were staying there for Holy Week. So basically at the monastery, people will come, and especially like younger people, they'll come and stay there just for the experience, just for the just to get away from the world, right? To get Pascha is the biggest holiday in the Greek Orthodox Church by far. It's kind of like, it's bigger than Christmas right here in America because it's very, there's a fast, right? We're supposed to be fasting, I think it's 40 days up until Pascha, but the Holy Week fast is very strict. So, I'm there with the monks, with these other guys my age. I had a bunkie too. His name was Strato, so shout out to Strato. He was very, very good to me. He spoke, he was 10 years younger than me, but he spoke very good English, and it was nice to have a friend there that I could communicate with, efficiently. And they helped me with my Greek as well. I picked up a little bit of Greek here and there, some Greek words, Greek phrases, that kind of thing. I can read a little bit of Greek now too. So I did take this opportunity to try to study another language, and I'm getting up every morning, and for about an hour I'm trying to write Greek, learn the alphabet and everything. I got something in my eye. But going back to the fast, right, for Holy Week, you're literally talking about we're eating bread, tomatoes, and oranges for dinner, And I ate a lot of weird food there too, a lot of weird food, guys. They fed me some weird shit that I will talk about. But yeah, Holy Week was just absolutely amazing. And then when we get to Saturday, which is like the final service before Pascha, it's like 4 hours long. I mean, your back is killing you. And it starts at 11:30 at night. So we went on till like 4 in the morning. And then there's a feast because we break the fast after the service. So then there's a feast at like 4 in the morning, you know. I was tired that night. I was very tired. And there was like, you know, the parishioners. There's probably, on Easter, there was like 150 parishioners. You guys will see this in my vlogs. But there's a chapel at the monastery. I forgot to mention this, but there's a chapel. And, you know, there's a community there that come every Sunday. They come on the major holidays. And, you know, like I said, Pascha is the biggest holiday of them all in the Greek Orthodox Church. And for people that haven't, like, spent Pascha in Greece, you know, a lot of people will ask me or ask Ted, like, well, why do you want to leave and go to Greece for Easter? Don't you want to spend Easter with us here in America? And I didn't really get it either before I went, but now that I have gone and experienced this, people just will not understand unless you go and spend Holy Week and Pascha in Greece. There's no way you could understand. I mean, it is completely different. The experience is so much more rich than spending Pascha here in the United States. You know, but I did miss my family. I felt a little guilty about leaving them, you know, for Easter or whatever. But I don't regret, you know, spending all this time the last couple of weeks in Greece. So we did all that, right? I mean, there's so much I could talk about in the monastery. One of the cons, and I'll be honest with you guys, one of the major cons is all of the smoking in Greece. I mean, people, like, if you're in a room with 20 people, 18 of them are smoking. And the other 2 is probably you and your American friend. You know, there were a few people that didn't smoke, but I would say, I mean, like 90% of the population that I was involved in, they all smoke cigarettes. So when you're in like a social hall setting, like after church or something, and everybody's, you know, blowing smoke. And the other thing is too is they don't like the windows open, right? I know this sounds maybe a little outdated or backwards, but they believe that a draft is how you catch a cold, which, you know, I don't believe that. But that's what they believe in Greece, in the old country. They still believe that, yeah, I mean, it was like 60 degrees outside and people were going outside with winter like parkas on because they were worried about catching a cold from the wind, from the draft. So a lot of the times they're smoking, not just at the monastery, but like in restaurants, you know, everywhere, and nobody wants to open the window. So that's one of the major cons. I mean, I pray for the Greeks. I pray for my Greek family and friends that they are able to maybe overcome some of this nicotine addiction. But all of the Greeks smoke. I mean, it is ridiculous how much people smoke. I mean, they chain smoke in Greece. You know, within an hour, people are smoking like 10 cigarettes per person. I mean, it was crazy. It was an ungodly amount of... I've never smoked that much in my life in one setting. And I used to smoke cigarettes, you know. But when you don't smoke, to be around it, it's like it's very hard to bear. It's very hard to bear. But maybe that was part of my penance, right? Maybe I had to sort of pay that penance to God because of, you know, some of the thoughts and feelings I had, you know, the last few months as a result of my bad decisions financially in the markets. But so that's sort of how I looked at it. Like, you know, this is my penance. I have to just stay here and suck it up and deal with this cigarette smoke. But it was, you know, I think it did I was getting some secondhand smoke because I started running after Pascha. I didn't do any exercise during Holy Week because we were just so busy with services and everything else. But after Holy Week, I started running again, and I could feel it. I was coughing up like tar. So obviously, you know, that aspect of it isn't healthy. You know, but again, I don't want to find fault with the Greeks, with these very holy people that we met. But everybody smokes. It's just so engraved in the culture there. And I pray for Greece that they're able to maybe get over some of this. The coffee too, because you guys know I quit caffeine. I'm no longer drinking caffeine. And they kept trying to get me to drink Greek coffee. I tried a couple of cups of Greek coffee here and there, but it's like every morning they want to drink Greek coffee. Every afternoon they all drink Greek coffee. They're drinking coffee at night too. So to be around that and to politely have to refuse because it's like with anything, any drug I touch, it's out of control. With caffeine, I can't have 1 cup in the morning. I have to have 5 cups every day. So, or energy drinks. So I didn't want to get hooked back on that again. But I did try some Greek coffee, and it was absolutely delicious. Although there's grinds, right? There's like coffee grinds at the bottom of the cup. They just sort of, I don't know exactly how they make it, but it's not like American coffee where there's no grinds in the cup. There's grinds at the bottom of the cup. So yeah, a lot of cultural differences. I've talked a little bit about the monastery. I mean, I'd probably have to make a dozen videos to really, explain what the monastery was like and what Greece was like, but let's talk about some of the cultural attitudes or differences. One pro I can say is that the Greeks seem so much happier than any Americans that I know. Whether that's my family, my church, the congregation, my co-workers, whatever, friends. The Greeks seem so much happier. They're a lot poorer than we are here in America, economically speaking. There's not as much opportunity. Everything's very casual, right? I was probably the best dressed person. I was probably overdressed most of the time. They actually made fun of me at one point. Like they were all laughing, one day, and I asked them, I was like, "What are they all laughing about?" Because I knew they were laughing about me. And they were saying my clothes looked expensive or something, and I don't know, somebody made a joke about it, but everything is super casual there. Like I brought 6 pairs of shoes with me. I did not need all those. Like people show up to service in sneakers and Adidas hoodies, and I'm sitting there kind of like overdressed. So everything is super casual in Greece, and they're poorer. I don't want to say poorer, but they euros are not worth as much. They don't buy as much in a lot of ways, although food is cheaper. But just economically, the country, America is much more wealthy and prosperous and well off in that way. But the Greeks seem so much happier. One thing I didn't really like was that they're really touchy-feely. Like even men, like men put their arms around each other and kiss each other, not on the lips, but every time you greet somebody, you got to kiss their cheeks 3 times, for the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It was just such a cultural shock for me. I don't know. I just kind of felt uncomfortable every time somebody would touch me, and I didn't really ever, I guess a couple times maybe I touched somebody back, gave them a pat on the shoulder or something, but it was just different because we don't do that in America. We're still in our social distancing mindset from COVID. And even before that, I don't think Americans really relate that way. But they're very happy. They're very family oriented. At least in these smaller towns. So I can say that the Greeks seemed so much happier. They were always laughing. They were never complaining. I'd never heard anybody complain about anything. Here in America, that's not so. You hear complaints every single day. Or at least I do from the people I associate with. So another cultural difference, or this is more of maybe a technological difference. Their infrastructure in some ways is not as good. Like for instance, the city streets are all super small, super compact. So what does that mean? That means all of the cars are super small and super compact. I mean, they have cars, they're called smart cars. I call them dumb cars because they look really dumb and I would never want to drive one. But they're as long as they are wide. And they look like, if you got in a wreck, you'd be dead. There's no way you could survive. I'll take my sedan any day. But you wouldn't be able to drive a sedan in most of these cities. I saw pickup trucks that were only as big as my sedan. You didn't see any of these Dodge Rams or Ford Broncos or anything like that. They had a lot of foreign cars, Fiats, Volvos, BMWs, but they're all super small, super compact. Once in a while you saw some sedans, and once in a while you saw like maybe some pickup trucks, but all of the cars are so much smaller than they are here in America. But gasoline costs a lot there. It was like 70 euros to fill up the rental car. And so, they have good roads though. Like their I guess you'd call it the interstate system or their highway system. The roads are fairly modern. They're good roads. There wasn't a lot of like potholes or anything like that. They have bridges. They have the Corinthos Canal, which I saw, an amazing feat of engineering. They've got statues and buildings that have been there for 4,000 years, but you can't flush toilet paper down the toilet. Believe it or not. And this was the most shocking thing. Ted was trying to explain this to me before we went there. And I didn't believe it. I was like, you can't flush toilet paper down the toilet? I didn't believe him. But, nevertheless, I mean, I don't care if you're at the monastery, if you're at somebody's apartment, because we got invited to, to hang out with people for dinner and stuff. We went to restaurants. We went to Athens. We went to restaurants in Athens. I'm telling you guys, everywhere, you cannot flush toilet paper down the toilet. So what does that mean? That means there's a trash can, maybe like, yay tall, sometimes a little bit smaller. And they have tops on them and like a pedal to lift up the top. And you throw the TP in the trash can. Okay, for Americans, that's going to sound completely foreign and maybe even super gross. And it kind of was. Like, it was pretty shocking. That's all I can say about it. It was shocking. I mean, that they have statues and buildings that are 3,000 years old still standing to this day, yet their plumbing infrastructure just is not up to par with what we know here in the United States. We have a lot to be grateful for here in America because I think this is kind of all throughout Europe. I'm told Italy is like this. I'm told Spain is like this as well. And you would never really know that because people don't talk about that kind of thing a lot. I never knew this, but their plumbing is not very good. Their water pressure, for the most part, is in a lot of places not very good. Their electricity is not very good. Like, it would take me, I'll get it later. It would take me all day to charge my phone. You'd have to get like a special fast charging cord or something, which my roommate Strato had when he was there for Holy Week, so I was able to get some fast charges. But the electricity doesn't seem to be as strong, I guess you could say. So there's, a lot of technological differences. In some ways, they're, I don't want to say backwards, but they're technologically behind compared to America. That's why I said earlier, America has surpassed Greece in this modern age in so many ways. And we have a lot to be grateful for. Our streets are nice and wide, and, we've got good plumbing, good electricity. There's a lot of solar power over there too, which I think has something to do with the electricity not being as good. Every house has solar panels on it. You see solar panel, fields for miles sometimes, all throughout the countryside. I saw a lot of windmills. So they're definitely going for that like renewable energy thing. But the consequences of renewable green energy can definitely be felt when you go to a country like Greece. At least I felt it, right? Another thing too that was kind of shocking, but I enjoyed it, were all of the stray animals. I enjoyed it just because I like animals. I like cats. You know, I think they're cute. Dogs are cute too. I'm not a big dog guy, but I was shocked at how many wild dogs there were. I mean, and cats. And not just like in the country, in the cities too. I took pictures of them. You'll see this on my Instagram. But I mean, there's just cats everywhere. It was like infested with cats and infested with wild dogs. Sometimes they'd just be laying down. I saw one dog, his head was like this big. It's like twice the size of my head. He was huge. And, you know, I went running a couple of times. I went running in Karatea. I went running in Amphisa, which is deep in the mountains. I went running in Meteora. And I haven't even talked about all the places I visited, but whether you're in the mountains, whether you're by the sea, whether you're in the city, there's wild animals everywhere. Strays, wild animals. And the dogs sometimes are in these huge packs. You'll see like 20 of them, you know, out in the field. And so when I was like running in the country in Karatea, you know, they'd kind of maybe, they didn't really bark at me, but they'd come and check me out sometimes. I remember when we were in the mountains, I got out of the car to take pictures, you know, on this huge mountaintop. And these two dogs came out, and one of them kind of, you know, playfully or maybe looking for food, kind of tried to jump up on top of me. I was like, hey, get down, get down. But the wild dogs, I mean, it was just, it was amazing how many of them there were. So they definitely have a problem in Greece where people are either letting these animals out, or, you know, they're just overbreeding out in the wild and not enough homes for them to go to. I don't know exactly what the issue is. I don't think they have like any services or anything that can take care of it. So, yeah, man, wild dogs and wild cats. I mean, there's a short on this channel where you can see the wild dogs when I'm running. I was nervous a little bit the first couple of times I would see them, but for the most part, I think they're harmless. You know, I don't think, I think I got the vibe they kind of know their place. They're not going to like attack people. But then again, I wouldn't want to be caught like deep in the woods or deep in the mountains, you know, with 30 of them and you're all by yourself and they're all super hungry. That could be a situation. But if you go to Greece, that's what you're going to see. Tons of dogs and tons of cats. And some of the cats are really nice. They'll come up to you and let you pet them. They were all over the Acropolis, all right, and the Parthenon. We saw them just everywhere. So, you know, those are some of the, I guess, the cultural differences, the technological differences, that sort of thing. I'm told the medical system is not very good there. All the police cars look like toys. I'm not even going to lie. I don't think the police are, I don't think like they park on the side of the road with radar guns looking for speeders. Another cool thing about Greece is you could have an open container in the car. No problem. You can drink beer. You can drink liquor, you know, in the car. Even the driver, you know, as long as he can drive, he can drink. So that I thought was kind of cool, because, you know, I think in America we kind of over police some of this stuff. People are perfectly capable of sipping on a beer while they're driving. I mean, that shouldn't even be an issue, but it is an issue here in the States. I guess we have a lot of like drunk drivers or whatever. The unfinished buildings. This was another thing that really shocked me about Greece. All of the unfinished houses, the unfinished apartment buildings. So basically you drive by and you would see these buildings that are half done. And they're all made of like solid concrete. It's not like here in the States where all the houses are wood. These are like solid concrete frames. And they have to be because they have earthquakes over there. And a lot of these buildings are just completely unfinished. You know, somebody will be living on the first floor. The first floor is all set up, but then the second and third floor is just completely hollow. It's just the concrete frames. And you saw this everywhere. So I guess they run out of money to build sometimes, or maybe they build half of the house and then They wait 5-10 years until they have more money and they build the rest of the house. But just seeing all of these unfinished buildings was a big cultural shock, because you don't really see that much. Like once a building gets, they start constructing a new building here in the States, it gets made within 6 months. But a lot of them are like, the houses are made of wood, and the quality of these homes are getting cheaper and cheaper. They just don't make homes the way they used to in America. But in Greece, a lot of unfinished buildings, but all of the roofs are like those red, I don't know what you would call them, but they almost look like, if you look up like if you Google Roman villa or ancient Roman villa, that's what every single house had, those red roofs. Not like here in America, a completely different style of roof. A lot of marble too, like you saw, especially in the apartments. Marble foyers, marble stairs, marble floors. It was beautiful. So marble must be relatively affordable in Greece. So let's talk a little bit about some of the places where I went to. So obviously I spent the first week, Holy Week, in Keratea. And I want to talk a little bit about the food too before I end this video. There's so much I could talk about. Again, I'll probably have to make a few videos about this. And we have more Greece vlogs coming, so stay tuned for that. But the places that we went to, so we went to Athens, and Athens is glorious. It's such an ancient city, probably one of the most ancient cities in the entire world. And they call it Athena. They don't call it Athens. It's called Athena in Greek. But it was a beautiful city in many, many, many ways. I did not see a lot of homeless people. There were lots of beggars. Like, people would come up to you and beg for money. Beg for money for their children, beg for money for this, for that. So there were a lot of beggars. And there's a lot of, Albanians, like on the train, on the metro. They'll like play accordion. And then they'll send like their daughter or their son around with a cup, basically trying to get money from people. I saw a lot of that kind of thing, but I did not see a lot of homeless. Like here in America, you've got homeless on every street corner, flying signs. I didn't see that in Greece. But I did. The beggars are a lot more bold in Greece. Like this one guy, we were eating lunch at this restaurant in Monastery, I think is what the area of Athens is called. Monastery. I think that's what it's called. So we're eating our Greek salad. We got gyros and French fries. This guy comes up to us and he's got a box with souvlaki and other things in it, and he's asking us if he can have some of our French fries. Which was just odd, and we were like, efaristo, ohi efaristo. Just trying to, politely get them to go away. And they're persistent too. They're very persistent. The beggars are persistent. There's also the African bracelet scammers in Athens, where they go up to unsuspecting, naive European women and, put a cheap ass bracelet around their wrist, and then, they say, oh, it's free. It's a gift. Now give me 50 euros. I saw a lot of that. I saw people just straight up, basically, they just straight up got mugged by these African scammers. So if you go to these European countries, stay away from those Africans that are selling bracelets, because they can be pretty aggressive. I saw them with, none of them tried to mess with me. They would come up and try to offer us bracelets, but, you just look them straight in the eye and just shake your head or roll your eyes or whatever. But there's a lot of naive people that go and visit these places, and those are the victims that they look for. So I saw a lot of that, where people were just straight up getting mugged. They also had like Albanian women that were basically flower scammers. They would like try to hand you a flower for free or as a gift, and then tell you, oh, it's 5 euros, and they stick it in your hair. Sometimes I saw that. So a lot of scamming out there, obviously people looking for opportunity, but to go to a foreign country, right? For people from Africa to go to a foreign country, or people from Albania to go to Greece and, straight up try to scam people. I don't know. That seems pretty bad. or coerce people to give them money. So a lot of that kind of thing. But besides that, I mean, another thing that was really great about Athens is like when you go into the shops and you go and buy souvenirs, everything is negotiable. It's not like here in America where, you know, there's a listing price and that's what you have to pay. If you don't pay it, somebody else is going to pay it. No. In Greece, everything is negotiable. So a lot of the times, my nose is a little stopped up, so apologize about that. A lot of the times the prices would be a little bit inflated. Like I bought this ring. Let me actually show this to you guys. I bought this ring right here. This is it's Symphonia, which it's the double-headed eagle of the Byzantine or Eastern Roman Empire. It basically represents a perfect union between church and state, which I do think, you know, as a society, we need to get back to that. But that's neither here nor there. But that ring, I mean, the listing price was like, I don't know, 300 euros or something. I think I got it for about 100 euros. But I also bought some icons, so it was like a package deal. That helps too if you buy several different things at one store. They're even more willing to lower prices. But everything is negotiable. Even t-shirts. You know, you see t-shirts for 20 euros. You offer them 5. They offer 10. You offer 7. Deal. So that is really cool about Greece. I like the sort of the bartering there. The trade, right? It was, I don't know, maybe the trader inside of me kind of got a thrill from that. But we did get some good deals. Like I found an icon. Let me actually grab that real quick. I got to show you this. So this icon here, this is the prophet Elijah, which I didn't tell you guys this either. In Greece, I'm Elijah. I didn't want to go with Charlie because they don't have a CH sound in Greece, so everybody would have called me Sally. They would have said, "Hi, Sally," and I didn't want to be Sally in Greece. So I went, my middle name is Elias. That's also my baptismal name. So my name, you know, in the Orthodox Church is Elias or Elijah. But this is the prophet Elijah, who I'm named after. So in Greece, everybody calls me, that's my name in Greece, Elijah. That's my Greek name. But I got this hand-painted icon from a monastery in Meteora for 20 euros. They sold this to me. And it had been in a possession of a monk. It was in a monk's, you know, room or something, and the monk had left or gotten sick or something and left the monastery. And this was in his room. And they sold this hand-painted icon for 20 euros. You know, if you go like to Athens, you're going to spend at least 100 euros on something like this. So this was an amazing treasure. You know, guys, actually Jezebel, I've been talking about the Jezebel spirit. Jezebel tried to have Elijah killed. You guys know that, right? Which, you know, it's probably a sign I really need to watch out for the Jezebel spirit in my life. They're trying to kill me, guys. The Jezebels, they're trying to put me to death. But yeah, everything's negotiable, and we got a lot of great deals. A couple of times, like I bought dish towels for my father. You know, just stuff to like hang up here, stuff to wipe dishes down with. I bought a couple of those, and the gift shop owner gave me a free one. He gave me a gift, you know, because I bought that and I think a bath mat. So people are very nice there. And most of the younger people, they do speak English, or they at least speak a little bit of English. Because next time I go to Greece, I'm going to try to go before Pascha in 2024, but I'll probably have to go on my own, or maybe I'll drag my brother along. But I think I could get along without, because Ted speaks fluent Greek, so it was very easy to, you know, to be there and have somebody that spoke Greek as well as he does. But most of the younger people and most of like in the touristy areas, everybody speaks English. So I do think I could survive on my own and have a good experience there. But you know, even if they don't speak Greek, they try to include you in on the conversations. Like at the monastery, a lot of the older folks didn't speak much English. but they would say things and then wait for translators, maybe my friend Strato or, Ted, who I went with, they could translate for me. So they would say something and then wait a moment, wait for the translation so I could absorb the information. So even if they didn't speak English, they would try to include you in the conversations. That was definitely something I experienced and felt. So yeah, we went to Athens. We went to a town called Megara. I think it's Megara or Megra. Very nice town. That's probably one of the classier or richer areas in that part of Greece. Just a beautiful city, a beautiful town. That's actually where the Byzantines come from, is from Megara. They were called Byzines. But it was from that area where the Greeks went to Anatolia and founded, Byzantium, which later became Constantinople and what we call the Byzantine Empire. They would have called themselves Romans or Eastern Romans because it was part of the Roman Empire with Constantine and Saint Constantine, Saint Helen, that founded Constantinople. But so much history at that place. So much history. Anyway, so that was a great town, Megara. And then we saw the Corinthos Canal. So we went on a little road trip after Easter. We went and saw the Corinthos Canal. If you guys remember Corinthians from the Bible, well, Corinthos in Greek, that's the city-state that St. Paul was writing to. But they built this huge canal back in like the 60s or 70s. It took like 13 years for them to build it. It connects, I guess, the Ionian and the Aegean Sea. So ships don't have to travel all the way around the Greek islands. They can just go straight through. So we saw that. We saw Delphi, which, if you guys remember, like the Oracle of Delphi from, is it Homer? One of those. I don't know. I studied it in English class in community college, but it's where the temple of Apollo is. It was just, I'll show you guys pictures. Like, I'll be posting pictures and everything on my social media, but it was, I can't even explain to you the experience. Again, it kind of felt like being at the monastery. Like, I felt like I didn't deserve to be there. I felt like, as grave as some of my sins are and have been in the past, it was like God's grace allowing me to see this, allowing me to get to travel to the old country. This is the site where all of the pagan gods themselves walk the earth, and even, supposedly Apollo founded the original structure himself. So, to see, and even though these buildings, they're built by pagans, you can't help but just be inspired by all of it, because there's so much of it still standing to this very day. I did grab rocks. You're not supposed to do that, but I grabbed a lot of rocks from the Acropolis, from Temple of Apollo, from Meteora, because I just wanted to take a piece of Greece back with me in that way. But you're not really supposed to. I think you could actually technically get arrested for taking rocks from the site. But I'm Greek, right? I have a right to it. I'm Greek. A lot of the stuff too, like if you are Greek, if you can prove you're Greek or whatever, you can get in for free. Like at the monasteries in Meteora. If you look up Meteora, it's like these geological anomalies. I don't even know how to explain it. They're like these mountains, but they're like been weathered by the wind or something, and so it's like just straight rock and cliffs. And they've built all these monasteries. They built like, I don't know, dozens of them up there. We only got to see 3 of them, but because we're Greek, we were able to get in for free. All the other Europeans, they'd had the other tourists, they had to I guess they had to pay. So if you're Greek, that's another perk. Going to Greece, you get into a lot of these monasteries and exhibits for free, if you can prove your Greek heritage. So, Delphi was an amazing experience. You really, to think that they built Delphi up, and it's up in the mountains too. I didn't realize how high up there it is in the mountains. It takes hours and hours and hours to get to from Athens. There were a lot of bus tours, so it was pretty crowded. I like to go back in the fall or winter where there's not as many people and try to get an experience that's a little bit less crowded. But it's a lot of hiking, right? You got to hike up so many stairs to get to these sites. Like an 85-year-old person probably wouldn't be able to do it. It's definitely, if you're younger, you want to do it when you're younger because you got to hike up. So it's never ending. You hike up all these ancient stone stairs. You get to the Temple of Apollo. You hike up more stone stairs. You get to the Athenian treasury. It's just on and on and on. I don't even think I saw everything because they just kept going on and on and on up this mountaintop. But the views were just they were. You realize why they built these pagan temples so high up, and even with the monasteries at Meteora, these are like middle-aged monasteries. Some of them were built in the 1100s. Some of the first monastics, the monks, started living up there in the 900s. So, to think that they built they almost look like castles. They are castles. To think that they built these things so high up, it's just the engineering feats are amazing. But you still can't flush toilet paper down the toilet in modern Greece. Go figure. I will never get over. I'm sorry to my Greek friends. I will never get over that. So yeah, just everything that we saw. I could go on and on and on and on and on. Another thing I want to mention is that it was it's a little politically incorrect, but it was very white over there. And I don't have a problem with that. All right, lots of diversity even within Europeans, right? Europeans always get accused of all, being the same or they're not diverse. From Austria to France, from Portugal to Sweden, there is enough diversity just amongst Europeans. They don't need to introduce any more diversity or any more tones or anything like that. Europe is beautifully diverse the way it is. But I will say this, in Greece, it was very European. You saw Mavri every once in a while. There were a lot of Asian tourists. You saw big Chinese groups. We met a couple of people from China that were touring. Every once in a while, you'd see a Mavri, an African, or maybe a black person from Europe or the States touring. But like here in America, like in Norfolk, it's you've got a lot of white people, a lot of internationals, but you have a huge American black population in Norfolk, and that's like many cities. And that there was just kind of a culture shock in Greece, because we hear a lot of this doom and gloom that Greece is being taken over by migrants and people from Syria, and I don't know, it didn't look like it, right? Maybe a lot of them moved on to Germany or France, in 2013, where Angela Merkel and the globalists basically opened up the borders into Europe. But I think maybe a lot of the migrants moved on to other countries that have better welfare benefits. But in Greece, it was very European, and there were Europeans from everywhere. You saw tall Swedes, so probably people from Norway. I heard a lot of English accent, from England, from Great Britain, British accents. I heard a lot of French. You could tell who the French are because the men are always wearing scarves. They love scarves and hats. Like berets, I guess you would call them. So, but yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just kind of nice. It was nice because you realize you're in Europe. This is Europe. This is not America, where, there's a lot of this, I don't know, forced diversity or a high, high value set on diversity, whatever that means. And despite what, I don't know, maybe the American left would call a lack of diversity, Europe is extremely diverse. With Athens, you had Albanians, you had, obviously Greeks, you had Americans, people from Britain, people from France, people from Sweden, people from Germany. You had so many different, European people. Very diverse phenotypes, very diverse skin tones, hair colors, hairstyles. It was just a beautiful experience, because you generally felt kind of safe. It was a very safe, like, honestly, in Norfolk, I feel less safe walking down these streets or even going to the 7-Eleven. I feel less safe here than I did anywhere in Greece, except for, the African scammers. So yeah, if you go to Greece, you might notice that. Because if you listen to a lot of the right-wing propaganda on YouTube or whatever, they'll have you think that Greece has just been completely taken over by, the foreigners, the barbarians. But it didn't look like it. It looked like, I don't know, it just looked very European, very, classically European, I will say. And this is not supposed to be like a anti-politically correct statement or anything. I'm just sharing you guys my experience. There were black people, but it was very few and far in between. You would see like, black tourists, or I guess most of them were probably tourists. A lot of Albanians though. And the Albanians are either very, very light or very, very dark, or somewhere in between. The Albanians themselves, a very diverse group of people. You cannot accuse Albanians of not being diverse. They are extremely diverse in their phenotypes and their skin tones and their hair colors. So despite the fact that I didn't see a lot of what America would qualify as diversity, I did not see a lot of that in Greece. Greece was extremely diverse. And it just goes to show you, Europe, you don't need to add diversity into Europe. There's so many. I mean, just think of the languages, the culture, the histories, all the different monarchies that used to exist, and the revolutions and these nation states. And I mean, the music, there's so much diversity within Europe. And it was great to see that and experience that outside of kind of an American context, I guess you could say. And I generally felt safer. I think because of it, I generally felt safer. But there is crime in Greece. There's burglaries. Like all the houses, the monastery is all walled up. The houses are walled up. I guess they have, especially out in the country, they have a problem with burglaries and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess that's pretty much everything I'll cover in this video, because this is almost like an hour long. I don't even know how many people are going to watch it all the way through. If you did watch it all the way through, please comment down below and let me know. If you guys have questions about Greece, that would help me kind of focus my content as far as making these sit-down videos. I miss it, though. I miss it a lot. I want to go back. I didn't want to leave, honestly. Being at the monastery, it's so peaceful, and it's just... it was like another world, and being able to stand by the tomb of St. Gregory V and being able to kiss the relics and venerate these icons, venerate these churches and monasteries that are 1,300 years old. It was just the experience of a lifetime. I did not want to leave, but I feel like I'm a better person because I went to Greece. I feel much more connected to my faith, to my ethnicity, to my history, and I just feel like the spiritual benefits of going were incredible. And I found a peace there that I want to keep with me forever. I learned to pray again. I learned to pray for others. I learned to, I guess, humble myself a little bit more. And it was a humbling experience. I mean, having to wipe your ass and throw the TP in a trash can. You open the trash can, there's all this other shit rags in there. It's a humbling experience, if I can be so graphic. And then having to empty it, right? I mean, it was very humbling. Just the experience was humbling. I'm kind of trolling a little bit here and having a go. So I hope the Greeks are not offended, but yeah, the TP situation, we got to figure that out. We got to get Greece some proper plumbing. They deserve it. They deserve proper plumbing, American plumbing. So I want to go back. I plan to go back for Pascha 2024, Holy Week in Pascha. But I don't know if I think I'd probably stay at a hotel next time, because just dealing with all the cigarette smoke all the time, that was a big letdown. Like that's the biggest, like I said in my video earlier, this is the biggest con, is just how many people smoke. They don't care that you don't smoke. They will blow smoke right in your face. And they're not being rude. That just everybody smokes. In Greece, everybody. You know, there could be 20 people in the room. Maybe 18, 19 of them are smoking. 1 or 2 are not smoking. And that 1 or 2 might be you, you know. So it was ridiculous. So I'd probably stay in a hotel maybe, because I just felt like the cigarette smoke was kind of bothering my lungs. I did get sick when I was over there. You guys can tell I got kind of a cold now. I got sick with a sore throat or something. This was like the day of Easter, but we had been staying up really late. I think my immune system was down. I hadn't been working out. And I'm, you know, in large crowds. I'm visiting these different historic sites. There's a lot of crowds. So I think I caught a bug. Maybe I had COVID. I don't know. It kind of felt like COVID for a couple of days, because it was like this scratchy cough. And I still kind of got this cough. I got this runny nose. So I'm still sick. I'm still trying to kick this cold. So I did get sick over there. But yeah, I think, you know, next time for Easter, I'll probably try to stay in a hotel in Keratea, just so I have a place where I can go where there's like no cigarette smoke, you know, because having to be there 24/7 with all the smoke was just, that's the one thing I didn't like about it. And that was worse than having to throw TP in the trash can, was just how many people smoke over there. But again, I'm not trying to find fault with people or find fault with, you know, any of the monastics or anything. It's just, it's so engraved in their culture. But I'd like to go back sooner than that. You know, if I could, I would like to go back in September. I even had a job offer. The monk Matthias, who I sang with. Oh, I didn't mention this either. I was tonsured by the Archbishop of the Missionary Archdiocese of America. I was tonsured as a reader. As a, I guess, salty, right? So that was such an honor. I mean, I didn't deserve it. I felt like I didn't deserve it. But again, it was God's grace, you know. It was God's grace in my life, was being tonsured as a holy reader by the Archbishop himself. I mean, just would have never imagined that, you know, 6 months ago. But I'd like to go back maybe in September. If I go back, I definitely would want to stay for like a month. 2 weeks is just, it's not enough. It's not enough, guys. I miss it so much. I miss Greece a lot, and I want to go back. But anyways, that's about it for this video. Been lifting super heavy weights since I got back. Calvin Klein shirt looking good on me. If you guys enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the kitchen floor vlog, please do give it a like. Comment down below. Comment any questions that you may have. And as always, until next time, I'll see you on the next video.